I'm Dr. Kristen Kilgoss talking about eNov PV solutions and specifically eNov's PV 24/7 innovative pharmacovigilance. eNov is a software company that has 5 connected solutions for the various areas of life science to include regulatory, quality, pharmacovigilance, clinical, and events all on one platform. Please feel free to reach out and contact us about any of our other solutions after this presentation. I'm Dr. Kristen Kilgoss, and with me today is Elena Murphy, and we'll be talking to you today about good pharmacovigilance solutions and great pharmacovigilance solutions. First, let's talk about the 3 keys to a good pharmacovigilance solution. First, it should be cost effective. In order to save time and money, it's best if you can find a scalable solution that can grow with your business and rewards your business growth. Also, ideally, find a solution that has upgrades and regulatory driven updates included at no extra charge. Second, the system should be compliant and offer standardized code lists and dictionaries, as well as file formats for regulatory reporting. The system should be pre-validated, quality built, and managed under a quality system. The system should also collect data at a granular level, ensuring that you have access to the data that you need for regulatory compliance as well as product monitoring. Remember, it's most important to collect data at the right level of granularity. It's much easier to roll up granular data than to pick apart data that has been collected in either free text or narrative form, looking for key factors or key bits of information in your pharmacovigilance data. The third and last key to a good pharmacovigilance solution is it must be effective. Of course, we want the system to do what it's intended to do. It must be secure, and you must feel guaranteed that your data is accessible, that there's good integrity, security, confidentiality, and reversibility, ensuring that your data is secure. It should be easy to use, accessible, user-friendly, and fun for those who are entering data and processing data in the system. It should be efficient, including automated routines and tasks for resource conservation. It should also provide early alerts to identify potential signals and trends, as well as predictive analytics. If the system can help you to identify early trends or potential signals before there's a negative impact in either clinical trials or patient safety in the field, that's really what you're looking for out of a pharmacovigilance system. Also, it's wonderful if the system can provide classification of signals and also manage the signals that you identify. So these are 3 things that make a good pharmacovigilance solution, but what makes a great pharmacovigilance system? What makes a great pharmacovigilance system? One that saves time and money. It should be cloud-based and be able to manage multiple case types all in one place. Our cloud-based solution, PV 24/7, allows your data to be captured in a secure environment with guaranteed data integrity, security, confidentiality, and reversibility. PV 24/7 is one solution that does it all, managing adverse events as well as product quality complaints and medical inquiries all in one place. Also, you can classify cases as valid, suspect, or link together cases, or identify cases that might be related to product quality defects or labeling complaints quickly and easily. If you need your system set up as a multi-tenant system, no problem. PV 24/7 can easily install subsetted cases where users have access to part or all of the system dependent upon how they are set up in the system. A great system is also one that automates case intake processes. With PV 24/7, you can take efficiency to the next level with natural language processing, semi-automatic filling of adverse event cases, increased case intake productivity, estimation of seriousness, expectedness, relatedness, generation of follow-up questions, and quality check indicators, just to name a few. PV 24/7 also offers easy coding. Easy coding allows you the flexibility to define labeled or most commonly reported signs for each product, resulting in quick and efficient coding of medical signs, expectedness, and causality. Automated serious case classification by defining serious code lists can also be done. Finally, with PV 24/7, you can set it and forget it. PV 24/7 makes reporting cases to multiple authorities simple, easy, and error-proof. Define reporting requirements in the product's profile. Cases are automatically sent to the correct authority in the appropriate format. And to make it even better, an easy-to-use reporting manager assures you that your cases have been received and approved on time. Compliance is another aspect that makes a great pharmacovigilance system. You want to make sure that you're staying ahead of the curve and maintaining compliance with all regulatory reporting requirements and standards with no added cost to you. ENOV is ISO certified, and PV 24/7 comes to you pre-validated. It also allows for comprehensive data capture and querying to ensure that you are able to collect the appropriate information that will be needed for regulatory reporting, as well as being able to query and easily identify cases that have been entered into the system. PV Express takes compliance one step further. You can easily report from your computer, tablet, or phone and collect adverse events, product quality complaints, and medical inquiries in any language anywhere in the world and have them instantly translated into English and imported into your database. No more missed regulatory case submission deadlines because an adverse event sat on someone's desk or in someone's inbox instead of being entered into your pharmacovigilance system. ENOV PV Solutions helps you to efficiently meet your regulatory obligations via automation. PV 24/7 is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant and also compliant with ICH and VICH standards. It auto-generates individual case reports such as E2B R3 file formats, SIOM reports, MedWatch reports, FDA Form 1932As and CVMPs, as well as aggregate submission report formats for PSURs and DSURs. PV 24/7 is also GDPR compliant and can integrate with other systems. This drastically reduces your case data entry time and saves your resources. Finally, ENOV PV 24/7 has an intuitive user interface, making it fun and easy to use, which increases compliance. Finally, the last aspect that makes a truly great pharmacovigilance system is one that allows you to turn your data into business intelligence. ENOV PV Solutions unlocks your data's potential. You know, your pharmacovigilance database contains a wealth of important information about your products. The extensive data mining and reporting capability of PV Analyzer brings this knowledge to your fingertips and allows you to proactively monitor products from your own ENOV PV dashboard. PV Analyzer is designed for out-of-the-box use by business users and offers a broad array of statistics, both frequentist and Bayesian statistics, as well as powerful data cubing. You can visualize your data in real time to monitor case processing, identify trends, and evaluate product performance with PV Dashboard. And take control of your signal management with PV Signal Manager. You can use PV Signal Manager to capture, analyze, evaluate, classify, and communicate about signals that you may detect in PV Analyzer or from other sources, such as social media, medical literature, health authority communication, or isolated field reports. With PV Signal Manager, you can easily define customized workflows to assess potential PV risks and auto-generate reports and effortlessly communicate important information internally and externally about potential signals. So these are the keys to a truly useful, effective, and frankly fun to use pharmacovigilance system, and that's PV 24/7. So now we'd like to take a look at PV 24/7 in action, and Elena will take us through some of the high-level functions of PV 24/7 now.
Thanks, Kristen. Today I'll be introducing you to System in Action. As you can see, this is our PV 24/7 system on my screen. In the middle here, you can see the main screen grid. The main screen grid is intended to support your case processing, the workflows, maintain compliance, trending, and analysis. It is true query-driven pharmacovigilance. On the left-hand side, you will notice a series of useful queries that are predefined and loaded in your system of PV 24/7. That will help you to identify commonly searched for cases, as well as having the utility to create your own queries within the database to dig into your data as much to your heart's desire. Once you run your query, so for example, I'll go ahead and run a recent cases query, the results are returned to your grid, and you'll see a dashboard of sorts with all relevant pieces of case data that you can remove from the grid and add to the grid. If it's in the case, you can put it in the grid so you can have a nice quick visual of it. So for this, we have case number, date first valid, et cetera, as our default. But if you wanted to remove, perhaps you didn't want to see the measure term, you would simply click on the column header and drag it out. So it's very customizable. Once your grid results are returned, you can customize the grid columns that are visible to you. So for example, if you did not want to see country in your main screen grid results, you can simply drag it outside of your query by clicking, and you can add additional columns from the database into your main screen grid by selecting the customization box. You'll see that it has every field available within the case in PVWorks that you can add to your dashboard and have that nice visualization of the data. So for this example, let's just actually go ahead and pull country right back in. So you simply click on the field and then drag it into the main screen grid. Now you also have the ability to group, if you'd like, to drag up into the middle or the top header. And you can also have footers to help you visualize your data within PVWorks. If you'd like to export your data, you absolutely can. You simply would navigate to the lower right-hand corner and select export, and you have a variety of options for you to export. To create a case in PVWorks, you simply navigate to New Case and select New Case, and the first screen that will appear is your contact screen. As you can see, this has all the available fields that are mandatory for regulatory reporting and good data entry practices. I would like to show you that we do have a wonderful functionality that's very robust to search within the dictionary for previous contacts that have had cases in your system. So if you receive a call from a reporter that is already reported, you can simply look up their name within our dictionary and it'll quickly locate this user's information so you do not have to retype this information, which is very helpful for your data entry users. Select the appropriate case role. Once you've added your contacts, and you of course can have multiple contacts by simply adding the plus button to add a new contact and the minus button if you need to delete one. The next screen is our case identification screen. This is where you're going to enter the key details as it pertains to your date first valid, what type of case it is, etc. So let me start on the left-hand side With your case type, select as appropriate. It'll default to spontaneous, but as Kristen mentioned, we are fully capable of handling any kind of inquiry, complaint, clinical trial, etc. So you will select your case type, your problem type, and your information type. You'll notice that we also have the ability to indicate if there's a quality complaint associated with the adverse event, and you would simply do that by clicking on the box. In the references field, we do have multiple references that you can enter. This is especially important if you have cases that you're going to be importing into your case, or legacy cases or whatnot that may have a different reference number. You have the utility within PV247 to manually enter that, so you can have this information displayed on your regulatory reports, queries, etc. For the date first received, moving to the right-hand side, you'll see we have 3 dates: the date first received, the date first valid, and the date latest follow-up. These are to indicate when your critical criteria was met, which will be the date first valid, date first received, when you first received the information. The date latest follow-up will become enabled after your first regulatory report is generated, and then you may enter that date and it will appear in subsequent reports sent to the regulatory authorities with that appropriate field. The next screen you'll navigate to is your patient screen. So you'll see that some of these fields have different colorations to them, and that is to help your data entry user to guide them to the critical fields that must be entered. So the different colors will correspond to perhaps if it's mandatory to save the case, mandatory to report, etc. So this is very helpful for your data entry users to know which to fill out. So, and it's very intuitive for the user to, so here you can enter all of the patient details. If you have a medical history, you can enter it here. And then if you, when you enter the medical history on this screen, the patient screen, it will roll over into your medical history screen as well. So that's one of the wonderful things about PV247 is that it's a very dynamic software that if you enter a field that appears in another part of your case, it'll always update accordingly. So that's a wonderful feature about it. The next screen is the adverse event screen. So this is, of course, where you're going to be adding your adverse events. So you'll enter your free text in your verbatim. If that appears in Medra, you will see right here under coding, it'll automatically populate. If you had to edit that, if perhaps it was a sinus headache, not just a regular headache, you can simply select edit, and it'll show you what was selected. And you have the ability to search by multiple terms, low level, preferred, or all levels. Select search. And then just enter your text. And voila. Select your term and save. And now that has been applied to your case. So your verbatim still says headache, but the appropriate Medra code is associated with it. You do have the ability, as you can see, for local language, if it was reported in a non-English language, you can enter it in this field as well as indicate the language for which it was entered. You will notice that we have our company, ICH, the actions and outcomes. So the actions are in blue, the outcomes are in black. The ICH serious actions and outcomes show both. And you can right-click an outcome to set as the most important. So for this, we'll just medically significant. Next, you will fill out your reporter's assessment, which is straightforward, indicate whether or not it is a serious case. If it is serious, of course, you will select your reasons for seriousness and select save. Enter your causality and major cause. You do, of course, have the ability to enter multiple clinical signs following the same rules with previous screens with the plus and the minus buttons. If you navigate to the additional information tab, additional fields can be populated per event if it is required. So should you need to get to that level of granularity, that is a great feature of PV247. It is available here, and of course will transcend appropriately on the regulatory reports. The next screen is the medical history. The medical history is used for medical history events and or allergy information. So for recording 2 styles of medical history, you can enter the clinical signs and the narrative. So you will simply select, you have medical history as yes, and you'll see the screens become enabled, and you fill them out accordingly. The next screen is the product screen. The product screen, you will see it's going to default to your company product as well as primary product. But of course, you can deselect depending on the case information you've received. The product dictionary is populated by the products that are entered by you in the system. So this is what's wonderful about PV247 is that the user can configure it. The user can go into configuration and add products, and they will appear as soon as they are added and be available for reporting. So that's a great time saver. You don't have to wait for another person to add the product for you. So this is a great time saver for that. So you can do that within the system.
Elena, are you able to enter products, multiple brands for the same generic, or multiple products that might be registered in different countries or regions?
You absolutely can, Kristen. Thanks for asking. And you can do it very easily. So if you have an existing generic that you would like to copy for another country, for a different brand, et cetera, you can simply select the drug in question. So you would navigate to generic. And again, this has the same layout as your main screen grid. So we can group it, make it as easy as it can be for the user. So let's say we're going to do some assured nose cleaner. So you would simply select the product for which you want to create a new registration, select duplicate, and it's going to bring up all of the information that was entered for the product in question. So you do not have to change every field, since it would have the same generic name, some of the same components, and you would simply just update for the relevant country. Now, I want to point out that you are noticing an audit trail. As you would expect, PV247 is a validated system. The audit trail is mandatory, of course. It is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, which means that all changes are traceable. PVWorks or PV247 achieves this by logging all changes. It covers data entry, admin changes, and changes made by the database script. The audit trail is readily available to the user, as well as if you needed a little bit more of an in-depth report, it is readily available to users at all times. So you only have one audit trail pop up per editing session. So you would select your reason for change. And then go ahead and apply your changes. And hit save. And now that product will appear, the US registration of that assured product. So yes, thanks for asking, Kristen. It is very easy if you have multiple registrations for one product for geographical extensions. PV247 makes it very easy for you to add these products quickly without the risk of misspellings, because we know how important a good, robust product dictionary is. So going back into our case, so we're actually now into a case that has been filled out. So you will see the assured head refresher appears. And you can also add additional company products or non-company products. You have the utility for product role, for suspect, concomitant, interacting, previous treatment.
And those code lists that we see drop down for product role and some of the other code lists, if I'd like to see a different value there, is it possible to customize the code lists?
The code lists, the majority are customizable. Absolutely, the user can do that and add those additional codes Absolutely. So whatever information is not entered in your product dictionary when you set up the product, that information won't appear in your case. So for this example, the pack size, batch number, etc., was not entered in the product dictionary. So you would just fill out those fields accordingly. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, since there are multiple products in this case now, you can simply navigate between screens by clicking on the little grid at the bottom, or you can use the arrows at the top to navigate through your product screens. Now you'll notice with PV247, we are here to help you out and help out your data entry users. So you will see pop-up messages appear if something has been entered that doesn't appear to be aligned with good pharmacovigilance practices or use of the system. So for example, this pop-up message is telling me that the date may be inconsistent. So it's really helping your user ensure that they have the best data and the best data entered, which of course creates the best pharmacovigilance output. Once you have completed your product information, we can now go to the medical devices screen. So if you are entering a case for a medical device, this is where you will enter your product for the medical device. So it is the same mentality, of course, straightforward, entering the fields, all aligned with the required regulatory reports, all automated, go through to the required reports to the different agencies. Now on this, you will notice you have 4 tabs within the one screen. So you will, need to select your product and then your problem type. And then you can navigate to your event and evaluation, your coding, and then your addresses. The addresses, however, if you have a robust contacts and locations, it'll automatically come through. It's associated with the product. So we are fully compliant with all medical device reporting requirements, and the screen is available should you need it. The next screen is laboratory tests. So this is where you will enter any lab values that are associated with your adverse event. You do have the test names that are available from the drop-down. If for some reason there was a test name that does not appear, this is absolutely a customizable field, and we'd be more than happy to help you update that should you run across that. So we're very customizable. That's what's so great about PV247 to really fit the needs of all of our users while maintaining compliance, of course. The next is medical factors. So enter as appropriate, as relevant to the case. The next screen is your narrative. So of course, this is what's going to be appearing on your regulatory report. So to add your narrative, you simply will select case narrative as your narrative type. You can only have one case narrative. So if you've already had that, it will not appear as available in your drop-down, which indicates that it's already been created. You simply select your case narrative and enter the details of that narrative, but you can have multiple narrative types that will not appear necessarily on the regulatory reports, but are relevant to your business practices or data entry practices. So to do that, you just hit the plus. You can select your language and the type. And another great thing about the narrative screen is that you'll see that it has an overview of the coding that's already been applied. So it's helpful for the person entering the data to have this visual right there on the screen while they're entering the narrative. So all the key information to help produce that, we've made sure to include on that screen, in addition, of course, to the others. Now, if you have literature that is associated with your adverse event, you can enter the literature title and information here. And you can see from the drop down, we have some common journal names, but of course it is also free text, so you can enter it yourself. The next screen is applicable if you are running a clinical trial. We all have this screen available. This will pull in the clinical trial sponsor information, again, going towards that configuration that you do in your dictionary when you're setting up your contacts and your products. This will all cascade appropriately into your case once you've completed that. So you're always as good as your data, and PV247 is doing everything to ensure that you have the best data possible. The next screen is regulatory reports. So this is where you will see all of your regulatory reports that have been generated for this case. And you'll notice there's two tabs, so you can see what was reported to an official regulatory authority, but also to a licensed partner if you decide to set that up, as we do have that ability to send the ETB files to other users with the system. So this is where you will be able to track it, see the status, ensure that your XML files return as accepted, etc. You also can see the cases that were in your periodic report, who reported it, all the information located right here. Next, I want to show you the document management. So this is where you're going to add all of your source documents, any medical records, etc. It's very simple to add. You just click the plus button and navigate to your file name. You'll notice from the aforementioned literature screen, if it is a literature reference, then you can go ahead and link it at this stage.
Elena, can you attach other things to the case as well?
Yes, great question. You can attach pretty much anything to your heart's desire. You can attach videos, big pictures, text message, anything. There is no limit to what you can attach. There are no files that are not accepted at this time. So you don't have to worry. You get a big video that you have to upload. It's not going to cause any kind of performance issues. We are fully allocated with enough space to allow for that. So yes, thanks. Good question.
One other question. So documents that you attach to the case, how are those then managed with regards to submitting them to health authorities or not?
So when you go to add it, you do have this option for whether or not you want to send it to the regulatory authorities. So you would select one of these three options. And if depending on that, it will or will not go to the authority.
That's great. Thank you.
The next screen is the parental data, if you have it. So you have two tabs within the screen as well, the parent medical history, as well as the parental drug history. We have a user case data screen, which is a nice little summary of the previously entered fields. And you can also indicate the multi-case data if it is applicable. So for this, you can see that we have 4 products associated with it. So it's just giving a nice little visual. And you can see if it's been submitted, reports. It's just really another screen to help you visualize and ensure that your compliance is being met. So PV247 is great in the sense that you have many options to ensure your compliance. The system is always working for you. So that flexibility is fantastic. And then finally, I want to show you the complaint screen, which is a concatenation per se. It has all the fields. It has the majority of the fields from the previously entered screens, all in one screen. So this is a very good field to use for your data entry team. However, stressing that it does not have every single field that is found on all of the other screens. So this is just a nice overview, to get the case into the system and get as much information as possible. And again, it transcends back and forth. So if I make an update to the narrative here, and then I navigate back to the narrative, you can see that it has transcended over. So this is the complaint screen. And you can also see on the bottom that it lists previous complaints from the customer that is reporting the case. So again, it's very, very efficient for your data entry users to use this screen so they can achieve their efficiency as much as possible with the best pharmacovigilance data. Okay, so the next screen that I want to go over with you is how to code and assess the case, or how to add your assessment. To add your assessment, you simply navigate to the icon at the top of your screen and select Assess. The assessment is split into 3 areas. You have your case level assessment, your event level assessment, and your product event level assessment. So you will, the assessment that you've already provided in your adverse event screen will transcend over, but there are additional fields that you will fill out. So you will indicate the case reportability, the most important for the serious events. You will indicate if it's listed or not, causality, etc. Now, what's wonderful about PV247 is that we do have the ability to go deeper into the data to help your assessor identify, is this on label, which label is it on? And to do that, to identify the label that you're comparing your expectedness, you're listed against, you would simply navigate to the looking glass and select Lookup Label. And you can look up if the reported sign is found in the label for that product. You can also see the different labels within this assessment screen on your summary page. Additionally, you can add assessments for individual countries for which the case will be reported to account for any third country reporting, and indicate the appropriate assessment per country, per regulatory agency. You are also able to display a causality summary and also show the expectedness display and set expectedness against different labels. So here you can see your causality assessment summary table to help you and your assessor visualize the assessments that have been entered. The next screen that you're going to navigate to is imputability. The imputability is typically used for France, but it is available if you have any regulatory requirements for French agencies and should it transcend into other agencies' requirements. The tab Reporter Assessment is available. The Reporter Assessment is very similar to your company assessment, and it populates with different data to the company assessment. So just as it sounds, this is where you enter your Reporter Assessment, all of the same features as with company. And as you can see, PV247 is always helping you out by letting you know if you forgot to do this, this is a requirement. So it's a smart system. It's helping the user ensure that you have the best data quality that's entered. So here's your summary table. So here's where you can compare the different lists. So when you entered your listed or expectedness, you can select what you're comparing it to. And this is available in the dropdown. We of course can help you configure if you need more. And then lastly, we have imported causality assessments if you're receiving cases from regulatory authorities. You will see these appear here for their assessments. Once you've completed adding your assessment, you will select Save, and it'll commit that change to the database. So now that you have entered all of your data for the case, the next step is to report approve. So to report approve a case, you can do so from outside the grid by highlighting the case and selecting report approval. And you can also do that within the case by selecting the printer icon on the upper left-hand corner that says reports. And with all the icons, as you can tell, they have hover help over them, so you know exactly what you're looking at. So to approve, you select report approval. And this is the box that pops up. So you can see at the top that it indicates whether or not it's been reported before. And under mandatory fields, it's going to let you know if you have any data that is missing, whether it's a warning or a mandatory field. If you want to correct that data, you simply highlight it and go to recheck, and it will take you to that screen in the case. You want to indicate your reason timing. So this will be a follow-up report because it was previously submitted. Select approve, and now you'll enter your memorable word. So your electric signature. And now the case is ready for reporting. So next, I would like to show you the workflow-driven pharmacovigilance that PV247 offers. So when each case gets created, it is automatically assigned to a basic pipeline or workflow. This helps to guide the users through the common steps in the pharmacovigilance lifecycle. There's a default one that is provided on everybody's PV247 that they purchase, but of course, like most, it could be customizable to meet your business needs. To identify the steps that the case is in, you will navigate to the Workflow Action Board query grid, and you can go to many places to identify it. Tasks assigned to me is where you're going to see all of the workflow items, all of the different tasks that are still pending, and as well as action board tasks. Or you can go to the individual steps. So if you have your company segmented, that you have people entering the data, and then another team that's reviewing it, and then another team responsible for submissions, they can quickly just navigate to their portion, hit the query, and it'll return all cases that are in that step. So here are the results for cases that are in the data entry step. The data entry step is the first of 4 steps. Data entry is the first, then code and assess, QC check, and submit report, all of which is available on our website in more detail, and Kristen would be happy to provide more information if you would like. So these are the cases you can quickly identify just by grouping. I grouped user assigned to, locate your name, and then you simply double click on the task, complete your data entry. And when you save and exit, you're going to see this pop up for data entry, and that's how you clear that step of the workflow so that it can progress to the next part of the workflow.
Elena, perhaps a company has a different workflow that they would like to use. Is it possible to customize the workflow in PV247 to allow for different steps?
Absolutely, and we do have customers that do that, and it's absolutely within the scope of what we can provide. Good question. Okay, so now that I have cleared off the data entry step, this has now moved along to the next step in the workflow, which is to code and assess. And all this information in more detail is available on our website as well, with videos if you would like to go in and get some more information in addition to utilizing Kristen and myself for any questions you may have. So next, we've completed processing the case. It's ready to go. So now we can report it. To report a case in PV247, you simply would navigate to the reports. So again, you can do this within the case or outside of the case. It'll bring up the same menu. And this is the menu that appears. So you have all of your regulatory reports, as well as crystal reports, some signal detection. These are all preloaded for you when you purchase the system. So let's go ahead and do a MedWatch. Select, oh, I don't have one there. So you highlight the report that you would like to run, and then you hit run. And you'll see this setup screen that provides provides you with many options that you can use. So you can indicate the official or follow-up, and on your display, if you would like for the case number, for example, to display the PV247 case number in addition to a legacy case number, Health Canada number, you do have that flexibility within PV247 to easily have that appear on your report. Once you have set up your export or your options, then you simply hit print and it'll print the PDF to your desired location. So for this purpose, we will go ahead and just do a preview. Now you are able to print a draft as well as an official, as you can see. So you do have that latitude within the system. However, it will not log officially in your regulatory reports screen within PVWorks unless you select an official report. So voila, you can see how quickly it printed out the MedWatch with all the fields filled in appropriately from the case data. Now, once you print an official regulatory report, it will automatically be stored in the document management screen. A copy of that report will be stored. So as you can see right here, our MedWatch report is stored in the document management. You are able to view it. And it is also captured in your regulatory report screen. Now you also can run, of course, PSURs and DSURs from PV247. So you would simply navigate to the reports menu and select Run PSUR, and then select the criteria for which the data lock point is required. Once you select your criteria, you select Run, and you will have a line listing that is generated for you. And in addition to that, all the cases that are involved in the line listing will, of course, appear in the regulatory report screen. So PV247 has many ways that you can identify that you are meeting your compliance. There's a lot of different ways for you to query for it. It's a very robust system to help you meet your compliance.
Elena, an important part of compliance is being able to review the audit trail of a case. Is it possible to see all of the changes and who made the changes and on what date and time the changes were made?
It sure is, yeah. Right, so as we were talking about earlier, being that it is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, we audit every single change. So to run an audit trail report, you would simply highlight the case in question, go to reports, and then select audit trail. So it's under internal, select run. You can specify date entries, or you can just say all changes, select OK. And this is going to show you, it's technical, all of the changes, who made the change, old, new value, etc. And of course, you can print it, you can email it from within here, you can add it to your document management. So another wonderful feature is that you have all of the expected business tools to easily export your data from this, from your PV247. And you can also see within a case in certain fields, if you right click, you can view audit trail. So it'll tell you the old value and the new value if that value had changed. So you simply highlight, view audit trail, and you can see the old value was vomiting and now it's ear infection. So in addition to having the workflow, we also do have the ability to hand over case actions ad hoc, and we call them action board tasks. So if you needed to hand over a case to a certain colleague within PVWorks, you can simply send them an action board task. To do this, you can do it within the case or navigate outside. So you select action, and this will pull up this screen. You will select your activity. And again, this can be customizable if you'd like, if there's something that you don't see there. So let's say there's a personal task. You can pick your user. I'm going to assign it to myself so I can show you how you get it. You can select your urgency. It's not mandatory, contact, etc. Enter your activity description. And then create the activity. And now the user that you handed over this action board task will see it on their tasks assigned to me. So you will see here that I have quite a few that are assigned in our training environment because to display the color coding that helps aid you to know which ones are overdue and which ones are not. So you can see this is the personal task. It is in a teal color, indicating that it has not yet met the overdue date, which is May 30th. So I simply click on the task, and it pops right up into my call history, so I know exactly what to do. You can enter your response, complete it, save and exit, and clear off the task. So this is just another way of how we have the workflow, but in addition to that, you have the ability to use the system to communicate with other colleagues that are relevant to the case, and it's all captured in one system. You don't have to worry about an email and having to upload it. You can do all of it from within PV247, which just leads to better compliance. And that is PV247.
Wonderful. Thank you for that very informative overview of the key functions of PV247. So as Elena showed us, PV247 is the cloud-based solution where your data either resides on our US or EU servers. Information can be directly entered into PV247, as Elena demonstrated, or can be imported via EDC or through our web-based tool, PV Express, that again allows adverse event, product quality complaint, or medical inquiry data collected in virtually any language and is automatically translated into English upon entry into PV247. PV247, as you just saw, can create XML files for individual case reporting as well as aggregate reports. The data from eNov's PV247 database can be pushed to PV Analyzer, which is our signal detection, analysis, and data visualization and trending tool. And any signals that are detected in PV Analyzer or from other sources, such as social media, health authority inquiries, isolated field reports, medical literature, any of these can be managed in the PV signal management system that allows for your own company's workflow to be used to evaluate signals and facilitate your risk management process. So that's an overview of eNov's PV solutions with a focus on PV247. So contact us to see how eNov PV Solutions can take your existing PV system from good to great. We look forward to hearing from you soon.